Hey there, welcome to this video. My name's Pete and I've got Dave with me. We are two of the four people from Mersea to Jersey. We are three brothers and a bloke called Dave, and we adopted Ynys Môn as a team to support at the Island Games back in 2015, and we are now well and truly part of the Ynys Môn family. Even if we wanted to leave, which we don't, we wouldn't be allowed to. The various team managers and competitors would be gutted if we didn't turn up to future games, so that's who we are. What we're doing with these videos is there's going to be 5 videos and they're going to be coming out every week. They'll be about 15 to 25 minutes, and they are for future competitors for Ynys Môn as we look towards Guernsey and then Orkney and Ynys Môn in 2025. We want you to get a bit of a feel for what the games are, but also as a competitor and an athlete, what kind of things you can be doing to be best prepared for the Island Games. So this series is called Panad. We want you to grab a cuppa, a custard cream, sit down and enjoy these videos. Make sure also that you hit the subscribe button, which is over there somewhere. I don't know where the links are, down there somewhere. There's also the description as well, which will go and have the links to the video about Mersea to Jersey and kind of who we are, just so you get a little bit of an idea of why there's these 4 English blokes supporting a Welsh island at the Island Games. But also any kind of other things that we talk about throughout the videos, that all the links will be in the description. So sit back and enjoy this first video.
So in this first episode, we're speaking to an Ynys Môn Island Games legend. He's won 3 gold medals and 2 silver medals in the sailing event, and he's currently 4th in the list of most decorated Ynys Môn competitors ever, which is a fantastic achievement. So a huge Mersea to Jersey welcome to Dom BreenTurner.
Thank you very much, Dave. Yeah, 4th. Well, how do I get up that pecking order, hey?
Well, 1 gold medal will take you to top position. So I hope in years time.
Suppose I can't hang up my boots just yet then.
No, I think you've definitely got to be there next year. So let's start with how you got into sailing itself. You've been to 4 games, but how did you actually get into the sport?
Well, I guess growing up on Anglesey, certainly where I did not too far from Beaumaris and some of the mainland sailing clubs, there was a lot going on. My family sort of knew a few friends, and my father used to do a bit of sailing. And I guess just from there, when your friends are doing things as a kid, you know what it's like. You start playing footy in the park, and you go on with your teams, and I did all that as well. But sailing was one of those other things, and we were quite lucky actually. There's a big group of youngsters going through at the same time, so it meant that we had a group of friends that took us all the way through. And by the age of about, I think, 9 or 10. We would start mutterings about, well, hang on, there's this Welsh sailing squad that, just across the water from Anglesey, such on your doorstep. Why don't you go and see if they're interested? You're good enough for that. And I guess my brother was doing a lot at the time, so it made sense for the 2 of us to carry on doing it. And I suppose once you get taken under any team, whether it's a club, a regional or a national team, they start taking you forward. They help give you goals. They help, push you. And from quite a young age, looking back, I suppose, they started giving us, I guess, ambitions in the sport. Look, there's a big event coming up. Let's try and get you doing well. How do you get better? And then the training started. And it's really interesting looking back and seeing how many people joined the sport very late and often did just as well. Obviously, you might appreciate the few I suppose sailing superstars, so to speak, if there are such things, have been sailing from a very young age. But at the same time, it's definitely noticeable. Some of the people who joined the sport late as well have been very competitive in their fields and sports, and that's been a really nice thing to see. It's not just a privileged few who've managed to get their feet wet when they're youngsters. Definitely all about taking the opportunities when they arise in life and not thinking you're too old to start anything.
You talk about how you grew up on Anglesey. So at what point did you kind of first hear about the Island Games? Because obviously it's been going since before you were actually born. So was it something you were aware of?
Thanks,
like
Pete.
as yeah, no worries. Was it something that you were aware of kind of growing up and in school? Was it talked about there, or is it something you found out later on as you were kind of competing?
I suppose the Island Games is an interesting concept, because in most sporting calendars it's not there, and yet most sports are covered. So it's quite interesting how you don't, from a regional or national or even international perspective, it doesn't come onto the default calendars, and yet it's a huge sporting event with all those different things in. So growing up, I was sort of sailing for the national level, sailing around the country, doing all the different events, and across Europe as well. And yet the Island Games just had not been on my radar until I was completely embroiled in the sort of the big circuits, and suddenly realized there was this other thing. And my brother went the year before I did, or sorry, 2 years before, in Rhodes, and had such great success there. And he couldn't stop speaking about what a sort of a wonderful event it was. And I suppose that's where my awareness came from it. And he said, well, and Dawn, who was integral to sort of getting us involved, said, well, why, come on, Dom, let's get you involved. And, a bit of juggling with the calendar, maybe a bit of a change of what event I might have done that summer. And off we went to Orland together. That was my first games. And it's something I just wish I knew about sooner. And even if I wasn't necessarily eligible to compete, it would have been such a lovely thing, because it's for your own island, your own region or county. Very rarely, gets that sort of accreditation to go and compete for them. You have to always get all the way up to the national stage, and yet to give you such a platform to go forward with to a sporting event of this sort of caliber is quite, I don't know, it sort of moves you a bit more deep inside. It's your sort of little island that you're so proud of being from, and it meant a lot to me actually going and flying the flag for Anglesey. So no, that was I guess just went from strength to strength. Then once you've had a taste of the games, I suppose, dare I say, a bit like a drug. You can't wait for the next one. It's brilliant.
So those experiences on Orland in 2009, sort of when you sort of first sort of stepped out there into the boat, into the sort of races, what experiences did you sort of gain? I mean, you got a silver medal, which is incredible in your first games, but what experiences did you sort of take away from that one, say, going forward into then the Isle of Wight and Jersey and Gibraltar?
It was a very different type of, it wasn't what I was expecting, I suppose. In Orland, the sailing, it was sort of picture postcard, little sort of Scandinavian islands and little log cabins on the side of the water near where sailing. And yet the competition level was just so much higher than I had anticipated. And I actually look back thinking I was quite lucky at that event. Because people coming from all over Europe and further afield across the world, and these are all people like I was doing, competing at a very high level in their sport and coming in to compete. So from a sailing side of things, I was really impressed with the standard, and it was just such a novelty going to an event, I suppose, which had much more than just sailing, which I was so used to growing up. To have all the different sports and people I sort of vaguely knew from either schooling or back in Anglesey, and getting to, I guess, meet people better and also see them in their sporting field, which how rarely do you do, short of football, rugby, and some of the big sporting events of this country. How rare do you go and watch someone competing at their own sport at an event where you're competing at as well? It's very unusual. You're all in it together. And you feel like one big family going there. Whatever sport you do, whether you've met that person before, once you've got that, your Anglesey top on or your flag, the dragon, it's amazing. You're one family, and you could show up at any sporting arena across, well, the whole of Orland. And this is what I found so amazing. I'd jump on a bus and suddenly I'd find someone from Anglesey. I'd go and sit next to them. And then you go to a sporting event, you'd never really watched before, and you find some people from Anglesey, you could go and sit with them, and you've got common ground. You're one team there. It's not, oh, the so-and-so sport keep to themselves. It's just all the teams are actually intermingling, and yet you've got people representing everywhere. Often you haven't met before you got to the gate. You've no idea who they are, and yet you'll spark off conversations sat next to someone watching a sport you've never maybe watched before. And it's that I love so much about the games. That whole feeling of being one big family out there.
That idea of the kind of the family feel, like and as you say about going to other venues with the sailing, we know that you were quite regularly competing, and it seemed like every day you had like a race to go and compete in. But those moments of kind of downtimes, you're someone that's known for going to the other sports and being that kind of team player rather than just going back to the hotel or the school floor as it was. So, what's been kind of some of the benefits of that family feel and knowing that other people are kind of cheering for you and that you're part of their kind of support team as well?
It means a lot. It does. It makes the games very different. To have people, either you don't know, they're cheering you, saying well done, or actually you cheering on someone that you don't really know. They've got your vest on the playing field or court in front of you or whatever it is, and I think there's something quite special about that, because afterwards you can pat and they say, oh, what sport do you do? Oh, I say, oh, where do you do that? Oh, I come and watch that. And it's just, you just get those conversations starting, and people really do appreciate it. We were quite lucky with sailing because we alternate. So every other day we'll often have like an afternoon off, even though we might have competed in the morning. So it does give a little bit of flexibility. I appreciate some of the other sports are on much tighter schedules and might be doing things all day. And actually, I sort of take advantage of our position there as the sailors. We have a bit more time on our hands to go and support the others who might not be able to. Because I always appreciate once some sports are finished, maybe middle of the week, those people actually start appearing as your supporters. So, it's sort of, I support you, you support me, and get to know each other.
Actually, when it comes to the bid for 2025, what do you think it could bring to Anglesey, having the games sort of hosted there, having sort of families and friends being able to support Ynys Môn competitors, and just bringing this whole sort of community spirit to the island?
I think a little bit like when I first found out about the games, I think it'll be such an eye-opener for people. I think so many people are just completely oblivious to it. No idea that it even goes on, that we, every 2 years we're sending a whole, coaches and coaches, loads of athletes away and actually competing at really high level. I think when we bring it to the doorstep, I think people's eyes will turn or heads will turn, have a look and be really amazed by what they see. I think we'll find a lot of budding amateur supporters and people very interested to get involved and help out. And I think people will really recognise it's sort of not only its tourist ability for the island, sort of advertising it, but also just showcasing what we've got to offer. I think we often get forgotten as a bit of a stuck on the edge of the UK, but actually it's such a special place, Anglesey. There's so much on offer. And yeah, I think it's a really nice size to host the games. It'll be one of the, I suppose, the larger of the ones more recently in terms of an island, but and actually an island as a change to Gibraltar.
Yeah, that was, yeah. Let's ignore the fact that Gibraltar's not actually an island, and yet it's competed and hosted the games before Anglesey has. So we've just looked at the future games, 2025, 2021. If all goes well, of course, we'll as a Mersea to Jersey, we'll be heading to Guernsey. Are you going to be heading to Guernsey? And how many times has Dawn already nagged you about whether you're going or not?
Well, Dawn's been doing her utmost to try and get me to be slightly more self-driven and not need her as a parrot on my shoulder, reminding me to get it all sorted. I bet she has done a sterling job over the years, so I can't thank her enough. I doubt she's watching this, but if she is, thanks, Dawn. Yeah, it's going to be quite interesting to hear, and a very sad day if they do call it off come later this year. But who knows? We just have to deal with what we've got. It's the same for everyone. Obviously, they've got, it's going to be a very hard decision for them, especially as they're completely free of cases and have been, reduced all their social distancing. So it's going to be difficult for them as well, because obviously they are going to be so eager to host it. There's so much preparation goes into these sort of games. From my perspective, I am wholeheartedly planning on going. I've already started looking at where I might choose to stay, if I can maybe drag some other of the household members out. We'll see. May even try and encourage some non-Island Games friends to come and support as well. Maybe get a new rival Mersea to Jersey supporting.
Right, well, that's all the time we got for now. So thanks for that, Dom. Yeah. No, I think it'd be really good, obviously, to get you out there. You've got the chance to go and become the all-time most decorated Ynys Môn competitor at the Island Games. Is that something that you've had in your mind? Were you even aware of that before this conversation?
No idea. I was aware of how many in recent years the sailing team have had, and how we've actually been really fortunate. We had a good group, and it'd be really nice if we can take a team again and try and compete for that team medal, because that's something special as well. I think even mixed individual success can actually bring home really rewarding results in the team event, as we've seen in the past. And that's something that's almost more important to me than getting myself out there and getting that medal. It'd be lovely to get the team out there and fly that flag on the podium as a group, because we're there's so few of us in the sailing anyway. It's I guess it makes a huge difference if we can get a medal and bring that back to for Anglesey. So yeah, that's one of my goals over the next few months, is starting to put the I suppose the carrots out for people and try and lure them in and see if we can get interest. But again, it's difficult, like you said, with the uncertainty at the moment, not knowing which way things are going for definite. But I guess drumming the interest up and getting it going, start getting sort of things like this going. Reminding people of the games. It was great having the meeting the other day with the rest of the Anglesey sort of sporting representatives. Hearing that enthusiasm, some new and old faces, and that's really nice about the games. You see people that you've not seen them for 2 years, and you sort of can't carry on the conversation as you did 2 years ago, and it's really brilliant. So yeah, I think Guernsey's got a lot to offer, to be honest, and I'm very close to where I live at the moment, and some of you guys as well.
Yeah.
I see. So hopefully that we will be still in the era of cheap flights, but who knows? Maybe we'll be sailing out. You can jump on my laser.
You mentioned about flag and the flag in the last conversation. One thing about Gibraltar is the opening games, you were handed the flag as the bearer to bring it into the ceremony. What was that like, being asked to sort of represent your island amongst everybody else who was there?
Yeah, I hadn't really appreciated the significance of it really initially. I think it's always great to try and encourage different people from different abilities and different levels in their sport to hold that flag. I know in the past often it's been like the youngest competitor, or this sort of thing. It was only after really I had it in my hand I appreciated why maybe it'd been given to me with my past success, which was nice to actually have that acknowledged and appreciated. And I'm such an advocate for the games and for Anglesey. I suppose it was coming my way at some point, but yeah, that was really nice. And it was such an amazing location with the rock in the background, and that was quite a special moment actually.
So when it comes to your actual event, I mean, in 2011, I wasn't there supporting anyone. I kind of sat on the beach in the Isle of Wight, and in the distance there were these boats, and I couldn't even make out the 3 letters of the island. And so I then went away somewhere else and looked up the results on my phone later on. And for Jersey, again, you guys were miles out and all that, all that kind of stuff. Is there any kind of way that when we look towards Ynys Môn 2025, when we're hosting it, how can it be a bit more of a kind of spectator friendly event? Is there stuff on the bigger international stage that makes it more kind of interactive for the people watching it?
Yeah, definitely. This is a big thing in sailing at the moment. You've seen the America's Cup obviously really changed the sort of the pace of the sport in terms of the media profile. Trying to get big crowds of people down, getting the boats as close as possible. Okay, it's maybe not the most traditional type of sailing. It's absolutely more technology than sailing almost. But yeah, you can see they're doing huge efforts to have big screens, real interactive things, professional pundits, you're talking about it, interviewing people, actually sort of drumming up the understanding in the crowd of what's going on. It happens down here. I live on the Isle of Wight now, and off Cowes, around Cowes, they have the sort of big fast catamarans whizzing around right off the shore, and they have, food tents, drink tents, merchandise stuff, big screens, commentator stands, activities going on to get people down there. And so people to understand it, big digital displays of what's going on the race course, a bit of live commentary, like a horse racing, I suppose, trying to drum up a little bit of excitement. Now, you appreciate laser sailing isn't necessarily that high speed or adrenaline based as some of those other things. So it's trying to use those principles in a I guess a condensed format. I remember in Jersey they had a lot of big screens around the place, and that was really important because it was nice to be able to see. I'd be wandering around in the afternoon, and my whole attention's gone from my sailing in the morning to some other sport to see. And lo and behold, on the big screen, one of my teammates out on the race course sailing, and it's showing the start, and I'd stop and watch, and whoever we're with, people would be watching these sort of screens around the place. So that's one, I think, almost a must. You sort of need to know what you're looking at, and I think if you've got that, someone talking it through, or big screens, or virtual, the boats with GPS and things on, which you can very simply do. You can see what's going on. You can see what you're looking at on the water. Go, oh God, that's that's one of our sailors out there doing well, or oh, that's one of the so and so other countries, because people want to come and do these, these things. All these different teams and athletes from all over bring their supporters or families or whatever it is. They want to be able to come and watch. And ultimately, if they come one day, they can't see much, and there's nothing really going on. They're probably only going to come the one day. Whereas actually, if it's a good feel, a good vibe there, you start to create a bit of momentum. People start talking about it. Oh, why don't you go and watch this? Or oh, the sailors are doing well. Or we've got a sailor doing well. I might go and watch them. Or because that's what you want, isn't it? You want people to start talking about the sports and drumming up that interest across the island and different things going on. I suppose it's for each sport to almost come up with their own ideas to try and drive that, and that's going to be something I'll take on from this discussion, even to start maybe thinking about ideas.
Finally, it'd be really good for, say, anybody who's watching this who's not competed at the Island Games. Sort of heard you passionately speak already, but what sort of one thing you could say to them to really get them to the Island Games, to really convince them to go?
Well, convincing them to go and get them there is different things, but convincing them to go, yeah, wow, it's something you've never experienced before if you've not been. It is brilliant. It's such good fun. It's not a high stress event, and yet the competition level is exactly what you'd expect at any other big event. So it's got a really lovely combination. They call it the family games for a reason, and it really feels like that. You've got all the different these days, certainly all the different sort of professionals supporting you, whether if you get an injury, you've got the physio team, there's lots of different support groups and all the different coaches for advice and interest. Everyone's interested in you. You're not just a number going along, you're part of the team, and yes, there's a responsibility with that, but at the same time, the enjoyment and the I suppose the fun of it just outweighs so much of the additional stresses and things any sort of sporting event can put on you. But at the same time, if they've got in the pipeline to be going, train hard. Like it's don't take this sort of event for granted. I think you need to appreciate the competition level is stiff. People are coming from all over, and this games is hard and fast marked on their calendar. They're going to be there and they're going to give it their best. And if you're not putting those extra sessions in the gym, someone else is, or whatever your sport is. So train hard, good luck, and it's worth every second of it when you get there. So yeah, keep up the hard work. If you're already underway with your training, hopefully you are.
Well, thanks very much for that. It's fantastic advice, and it's been great chatting to you again, Dom, and seeing you sort of since seeing you win gold in Gibraltar and in Jersey was sort of fantastic for us to be there to sort of the medal ceremonies. And so we really hope you are there next year, and we can see you pick up that gold to take you to the top of the table.
Thanks for the last bit of pressure there, yeah. Oh dear.
But cheers for speaking to us today anyway.
Yeah, no, it's been great, and thanks for setting this all up. I think it's helpful, even if my ramblings aren't particularly well received. But there we are. No, it's been really great. And thanks to you guys for your support, and good luck to everyone else out there. And yeah, looking forward to seeing you all next year with our fingers crossed, hopefully.
Yeah, cheers for that, Dom.
Thanks a lot.
Nice one. Cheers, Dom.
Cheers.
Cool.